Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is gonna be a cozy Q&A today because right to the left of me, Lizzie is attempting to go to sleep and I don't wanna jolt her out of her sleep. So I'm gonna try to keep this chill, not get too worked up. Also, my hair is kind of bothering me today. I wanted to do something kind of fun and different, and I feel like that just doesn't work out for me most of the time. Like it's just, took it a step too far. I don't know. You can let me know what you think. I was just kind of experimenting. I'm going to a Christmas party tonight, but honestly, it's so rainy outside. I'm just like, do I just need to braid my hair again? I don't know, but hi guys. So I pulled these questions from Instagram. I posted last night like, hey, I'm going to do a Q&A. Does anyone have any questions? And I got a wide range of questions. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just jump in no particular order. And I hope that this video is an encouragement to you guys and that I'm able to, just like lift you up, encourage you in your day, give whoever cares some insight into my mind, my life, what I think about so much stuff that has been happening on the world stage lately. I really am never sure which questions to answer first. So I think I'm going to open up with the one that is on everyone's mind right now, or like the topic that seems to be on everyone's mind right now. And that is everything involving Erica Kirk and Candace Owens as of this week. Now, I talked about this in my last Q&A, and to be honest, I hesitate even saying anything else because my opinions are basically exactly the same. Now, I don't remember exactly what I said in that video, but I don't think I have the popular opinion. That's something I said on Instagram. I'm like, I feel like I am a bit in a loner camp. Not fully, I know I'm not completely alone, but I just don't think it is the popular opinion necessarily. And the short way to put that, I mean, what Dan would say is that I'm essentially like in the middle ground, that I'm in like the middle camp. I don't know that I would have called it that, but I guess it makes sense. I don't like conflict in general. But I also, in the words of another family member, I've said this a million times, like my mom, I am a little bit jaded to pretty much everything we see in the media and on our phones. And basically, here's what I mean by that, okay? I got a lot of different versions of this question. Someone said, Erica is making a lot of money off a dead husband. Someone said, do you think Candace genuinely cares or is using the momentum to make money? Someone said, do you think Erica is in the government deeper than we know? Someone said, do you think Candace is in the wrong? Someone said, I'd love to hear your perspective on the Erica Candace situation. I'd love to hear your perspective on the Owens Kirk situation. So here's the thing, okay? I think, bottom line, we live in a day and age where I don't think we were ever really, and I know people talk about this all the time, but I don't think we were ever really meant to handle like stress and news outside of our local community. Like until modern times, that just wasn't a thing. Like you got the newspaper, you kind of got a gist of what's happening, but we are all so quote unquote like interconnected now. And I don't think that that's actually healthy. Now, I'm not planning on leaving the internet anytime soon. And so for me personally, one of the ways that it stays what I think is actually a healthier perspective is I maintain a certain level of detachment from pretty much everything I see in the news. There is always part of me, because of my own personal life experiences, combined with what we have collectively experienced as a society over the last 5, 10, plus years, even honestly, just going back to 9/11, because of all of that, I'm just maintain a certain level of detachment from all of it where I don't really believe anything I see on my phone, on computers, particularly like just screens, TV screens, all of it, particularly when you put into the mix the fact that I know none of these people. So just like I mentioned in the last video, I am not offended. And I am not that invested. Like I am in the sense that if we take everything as face value, obviously it's so sad to me. Like just the whole thing is honestly very surreal. Still, the fact that Charlie was murdered in front of everyone is still very surreal to me. Now, I am not in the camp of people who think that he wasn't murdered. I think that Charlie is dead. That seems pretty obvious. But I say that with a light stroke in the sense that like everything that I ever think about anything going on publicly is held with a very light hand. So what I mean by that is that I see people online getting very like possessive over narratives on either side, either like defending Erica Kirk tooth and nail. Is that a phrase? I don't know, but like getting really mad at anyone who has any kind of questions, obviously very upset at Candace Owens. And part of me gets it, right? Like the way Candace carries herself, her type of like journalism, that's never ever the way I would carry myself. I don't like confrontation. She clearly like thrives off of it. She'll just like go for it. I would never carry myself that way. I don't agree with the way that she is carrying herself per se, but I don't necessarily disagree in the sense that like, I don't know what happened. Am I over here like, no, everything that is being presented to us by the feds, by, Turning Point USA at this point, that is spot on. That is what's happening. Like, that's not really how I feel either. But simultaneously, when Erica on the news the other day made a comment about like, hey, you don't even know what's going on with the trial. You haven't seen all of the evidence I've seen. At the same time, I'm kind of like, yeah, totally. That totally makes sense. But then also, I said that to Dan and he said back to me before I could even say it. And I swear this is literally what I was thinking. He goes, well, yeah, but then they like paved over an active crime scene. What was it? Like 48 hours later. So there is so much weirdness around this case that I totally get why people have so many questions or think that there was some type of conspiratorial thing that took place here. Like I said, especially because of just our history here in the States, honestly, not just the last 5 years. People keep pointing COVID and saying that like, oh, because people were tricked by COVID, they've lost all of their common sense. And I'm like, yeah, but it's definitely not just COVID. And if you are a watcher of Candace, like it's not just COVID. It's in a lot of ways the history that has just taken place in the States over the last 50, 60 plus years, and even like written history books, right? This is something that I've come to realize in recent years that like that phrase, the victors write history, is totally true. Like there is just history that I have been exposed to, has nothing to do with COVID, but like within the last 5 years that like I didn't even know was a thing, just because the history that I was taught at my community college, in my private school, never mentioned any of those things or those perspectives. And so I totally understand why people don't trust and why they have questions. Now, it is very sad because obviously, right, what we see at face value is a woman who lost her husband, whose little kids have been left behind. But what I don't think people who are mad at Candace understand, or maybe they do understand, and they just think that they're all completely crazy, is that people that are in that camp truly believe that the government will fake anything or create any kind of chaos that is real but was orchestrated. You know what I mean? Like that 9/11 really happened, but people were essentially sacrificed for a very dark plan to play out, basically. And so, yeah, I get why people have questions. I also don't know, like I said, any of these people. I don't know Candace Owens. I don't know Erica Kirk. I know people who have some kind of relationship with both of them, but they're not like tight with them. And even still, like in real life, in regards to like gossip or rumors or whatever, just because someone lightly knows someone, pretty much most of the time, I'm going to base my opinions off of my experience with them. Now, that's not always true. We all hear this, right? This idea of like, what? They were really good to me, but then they were like doing something horrifying to someone else, assaulting them. I get that. So for me, I personally don't resonate with the idea of taking a firm camp of people that I've never met on either side. And honestly, like I know that the work that Turning Point has done has been really fantastic for conservatives. But I don't think that Turning Point is going to save the country. I mean, I am of the belief that I don't think any politicians are going to save the country. So I just have a different perspective in that sense. And I also very much sit in the camp that anything is possible, that I truly believe that there is a chance that Candace could, yes, be completely making all of this up. I mean, dude, she could be using some kind of AI in regards to like how she's running her show. And that's why she doesn't want to go in person to this like debate or whatever. But also, literally, I think anything is possible. That's what is so sad. And, it is kind of a weird place to sit in where I'm like, that's genuinely how I feel. I'm just not that upset by any of the mudslinging that is going on the internet. I'm like, well, I get it. People have questions. And like at the same time, like, wow, that's like, I've seen people simultaneously be so mean to Erica Kirk online, like call her names, say she's completely faking with such confidence. And it's so odd to me. I said this to a friend the other day. I'm like, dude, part of the weirdest thing. Okay, so like Candace Owens pulling all of these things and attaching, connecting all of these dots supposedly. I just keep wondering, do other people like not have crazy coincidences happen to them? I'm serious, because I have crazy coincidences happen to me almost every single day of my life. I'm dead serious. Things like I will say to Dan, oh, I haven't talked to so-and-so in a while. I wonder how they're doing. And then literally within 5 minutes, they will text me. I had something happen yesterday, literally yesterday, where I was talking to Dan about a topic that I will not repeat here, but whatever. We were talking about a specific topic. And then a couple hours later, a friend texted me bringing up this hyper specific topic to me that like, Dan and I haven't talked about this, I don't even know, man, in like a year or two. It was, and this friend has never talked about this topic to me. It was so out of left field. I can't even explain to you how often I have things like that happen. So at the same time, for people to be so certain that someone that they have never met in their life, just by dots that are supposedly being connected by Candace on the internet and be like, oh, well, she's evil and she's acting and she's faking and I know it. It makes me sad. And I feel a lot of empathy for her, not only because of obviously on the face value that like most likely it is what it seems, right? That she is a grieving widow with her children having to process this every day and live this out. That's so sad and devastating. But then also I have like a personal thing about stuff like that because of my own cancellation, which I mean, it feels lame even comparing the two. Totally different situation. Obviously, do I even have to say that? But the amount of things that people projected onto me or like dots they would connect when I was going through everything where it was like, wow, that was like not what happened at all or totally coincidental. It blows my mind that people have the audacity to be so publicly mean when they really don't know what's going on. Like that's the thing. When people get mad at other people for asking questions, I don't think asking questions is a problem, honestly, at all. And it bothers me when people don't like other people asking questions. It's like, what do you want from us? Do you just want blind trust? Is that it? Like, how can you not see that everybody is so scarred from a lot of things that have rolled out over the last couple decades in particular? That's weird to me. But at the same time, when those people that are asking questions aren't just asking questions, they're actually like accusing other people with complete confidence and maybe they're name calling or making fun of them, my mind is like, I don't relate to you at all because you could be totally wrong. And yet you're comfortable enough living in that mean girl energy and calling out a woman who literally potentially is just exactly what we're seeing right now. That's the other thing is watching Erica get criticized in her speeches and have people be like, I'm a professional actress and I know that she's acting. Here's the other thing. Okay, besides the whole point that I made before of like, do people never have weird coincidences happen? I'm like, is that just me? Like, guys, I can't even explain to you how often in my life I have crazy coincidences happen. Dan and I, if I wasn't married to Dan for all these years, I'd be experiencing them alone. But now we're going on 2 decades of me always telling him things and then it like plays out and he looks at me and I'm like, I'm so glad you saw that because no one would believe me. Like, so that's the first thing, right? The crazy coincidences. I'm like, do other people not have that? But also, oh, that's right. I had to like pause and think like, what was I going to say? I was going to say the other thing is, and this experience is like less of a lived experience for people. Like I realized this is actually more of a unique situation that I went through. But when I filmed my video, announcing that we had put Bowser down, it was okay. Besides the fact that it is very surreal to be evaluated by everyone afterwards and like body language experts and all these things. And you're like, wow, you are so wrong. But also just living that experience has me looking at her and just being like, I can't even imagine, because honestly, I was so distraught before I filmed that video. And I was so unsure of like how to present myself. It was like, if I cry and I let people see I'm upset, then people are going to be saying that like, that's pathetic because he was just a dog and like, they're going to make fun of me. But like, if I'm too uppity and like, and then like, as I was delivering it, it was almost like an out of body experience because I couldn't believe I was saying these things. It was like, this is real. This is so trippy. So now you project that onto losing a loved one, losing your husband. I can't even fathom how surreal that must feel for her. And I could imagine that it almost would feel like acting to a degree, because you still have to get up and live this out in front of people. And honestly, how many people throughout all of history have had to do that? And I know she hasn't had to do it, but also one could argue that she had to do it. We don't know, as this has been talked about, what their relationship as husband and wife looked like. And clearly he wanted her, at least as it's being presented, to turn around and run his company if something ever happened to him. So I can imagine, like, it just would appear weird, because how many times throughout history have people had to get on camera and explain things and move forward with business and speak in front of millions of people shortly after their husband passed away? And I know, guys, I'm not keeping up with every single detail of what like Candace and all the other conspiratorial people are pitching, but I know the gist. So I really don't want anyone telling me like, but have you listened to Candace? No, I know. I already hear all the other sides, and I still feel this way because, like I said in the beginning, we don't know. We don't know them. We don't know. And that's really the point, is like, I am so black-pilled, I guess, on the government and the media and people who want to stay in power at high levels of government and high levels, billionaires, positions of power. I'm very black-pilled on all of that. I am not someone, I've mentioned this before, like I very much believe in crony capitalism. I am for the free market. I don't think we necessarily live under that. So I am someone that has a real side eye at billionaires in general. And I think there are people in positions of power that will do all kinds of crazy things to keep the world going in a direction that they want it to go in. So I do think anything is possible. But I really think the bottom line of all of this is that our job and what will save this country, save the world. Okay, first off, it's not going to be Turning Point. It's not going to be the government, though those entities are great. And I know people whose lives have been so positively impacted by the work that Turning Point has done. But ultimately, it's going to be community. It's going to be families. Well, actually, ultimately, it's going to be God and his sovereignty. But it's communities, it's family, relationships. Ooh, and here's the thing too, when people keep talking about how this started off as something that united us and then eventually divided us, first off, what a throwback to 9/11. Like, am I right? Something that started off as like uniting us and then eventually divided us. Though I would say that the uniting lasted a little bit longer, but I think in this day and age with social media and everyone being able to have an opinion, it's like fast-tracked things. But I will say this, it is not Candace or Turning Point that is dividing us. It is us. We are the ones that choose whether to be divided or not. I see so many people on the right, yes, becoming divided because they are choosing to take sides and to take those sides aggressively and to be mad at anyone else that is not on their side. And I think it's just a little too nitpicky. Once again, especially considering most of us don't know either of these people or any of the people involved for that matter. Most of us, the maximum amount of interaction we've had with these people besides on the internet has maybe been a meet and greet at a TPUSA event. Like, that's really the extent. And so for people to be angry at each other, yelling at each other, dividing over this issue is so outrageous to me, because here's the thing, even if Candace is right and this is a deep state thing, Tyler Robinson is not the one that did it, what are you going to do about it? I mean, simultaneously, and this is why Dan says I sit in the middle, simultaneously, if it is a deep state thing and her motives are completely pure, I understand why we would want to illuminate that and bring light to it rather than letting time pass and the whole situation, essentially the crime scene, everything around it just dying down. And then it's harder to kind of like amp everyone up and demand truth at a later point. But the problem is, I don't know that we're ever going to know the truth. And I know that a lot of this, for a lot of people, also ties back to their perspective around Israel, which is something that I haven't really talked much about at all on my channel because it's not something that I'm super comfortable talking about at this point. Because similarly to this, there's a lot of things that I just don't have firm opinions on, just in general. That's one of them. And I know that a lot of people are concerned, Israel, people in positions of power, the Ukraine, France, whatever, they're concerned that there is essentially like an international global web of elites that are running things. And the thing is, that might be true, but I still don't know how a show is going to dismantle that. I don't think that it would be one person. I think there would be lots of people involved. And once again, the number one thing that you cannot shake off of me is the fact that there are way too many coincidences that happen in my own life. And because of my cancellation and the way that people interpreted things, I just automatically am not so easily sold by someone's like passionate explanation and connection of dots. I'm automatically like, yeah, that could be a coincidence. Also, you could be making mistakes in terms of how you're documenting things in your timeline. So yeah, I think the best thing to do, not that anybody's asking for my advice, it's kind of like an advice paired with my opinion, but I truly do. I think the best thing to do is to not really care that much. Honor Charlie's life. If you care about Charlie, you can pay attention, right? You don't have to be involved in fights that other people are having, especially with people you don't know. Your best bet, in my opinion, to honor Charlie is to, yes, be open to civil discourse. I did see someone comment that they feel like essentially the response that's happening right now is shutting down discourse, the very thing that Charlie fought for. But I think that it's very complicated because if things are what they seem at face value, like I can't even imagine being Erica Kirk. Like the whole thing is just so horrifyingly sad. I think it's a very unique situation, but being kind to each other. If you have friends that sit on a different side of the fence than you, don't call them an idiot. Don't call them names. Don't be mean to people, especially people you don't know. That's the thing. Don't be mean to people you don't know. Bottom line is, I very much believe in the deep state. Anything is possible. That could be what's going on here. That could absolutely not be what's going on here. There could absolutely be no such thing as the deep state anymore. I think that that's highly improbable. I think bureaucracy breeds greed and allows for people to hide in the mass, in the details. I think they're able to hide amongst it, if that makes sense. I think it's best to just pray for all of these people, to pray for discernment for yourself, and then to focus on your family, your community, your friends, and conversations with people that you know in real life. I don't know. I feel like I could just keep going on and on. Like almost this could be its own video, but I want to answer other questions too. And in a lot of ways, I feel like I don't really have any room to speak on this because like I said, I know my perspective is not the popular perspective. This part of me that's just like, yeah, great. Yeah, I don't believe anything I see online. Like, I'm just like, but I'm sorry. I literally got traumatized from knowing YouTubers who would put on a completely different show like compared to who they were in real life, things that they would hide from their audience that I was like, dude, if people knew this about you, like they would never see you the same way again. So just between that and like I said, my cancellation, I have an automatic bias of distrust for people who are in the media, on the screen, people who ran networks that I was a part of. The things that they would say to me were so sad, honestly, sad and outrageous, especially towards Christians, that I just, this is just where I sit. And I could be totally wrong. I also could be totally right. I can't help but be influenced by my own perspectives and experiences, So I want to pause for a minute to give a shout out to Magnesium Breakthrough, which is made by ByOptimizers. It is the magnesium that I love. If you're not already taking magnesium is part of like almost every function that the body does. Your body needs magnesium. And the problem with a lot of magnesium supplements is they will just be one type of magnesium, whereas different things that your body does needs different types of magnesium. So the cool thing about Magnesium Breakthrough is it is a mixture of 7 of the most effective, potent types of magnesiums in one pill. So when you take that one pill, you know that you're going to get help from the magnesium for all different types of function, whether it's sleep, restless leg syndrome, digestion, all kinds of things. Seriously, look it up. Magnesium is useful for everything. And this is the best magnesium I have ever used. I've mentioned this before. When I was pregnant this last time around, I had 0 restless leg syndrome because of this magnesium. And if I didn't take it, I would start to get it. And it's uncomfortable. If you've ever had it before, you know that. So check out ByOptimizers, Magnesium Breakthrough. There are other supplements that I've tried have been fantastic as well, but that is really the main thing that like I'm kind of obsessed with their magnesium. So if you use my code NikkiP10, you can get 10% off of your order. And as always, thank you so much for shopping with my links and my codes. It means more to me than you know. Okay, next question. What has been making you laugh lately? Shows, people, games. Okay, I'm going to say this. I'm going to throw this out there for you guys. This could be helpful. I have been extra laughy over the last month, I would say. And I am convinced, okay, it could just be because I was so sick. I was so sick with pneumonia, guys. And then coming out of pneumonia, I was just like, I'm alive. Like, life is beautiful. So I think that's part of it. But also, I am taking probiotics now, like very specific probiotics. I mentioned this in my last Q&A. I think that I am taking a probiotic that is meant specifically to replenish the bacteria that was wiped out from the amoxicillin that I took. That's very important. If you take a antibiotic, look for a probiotic that replenishes that specific bacteria. Very important. But also, I have been taking literal high dose vitamin D since I got sick, anywhere from 10 to 30,000 IUs per day. Obviously, anything I say, nothing I ever say is medical advice. Do I have to say that? I feel like that's obvious. I'm just sharing my experiences. And I think that that's been affecting my mood in a really positive way. For the last week, I lowered my vitamin D to 10,000 IUs, and I noticed I started to feel a little off again. And so now I'm going back up because there's a big debate online around vitamin D. I already know, I've been down the wormhole. Some people think that supplementing vitamin D is not good for you, and other people swear by it. And so I am now in the camp of just going full force at it because we have gotten sick way too many times since living up here. And the last time I went to my doctor, she was like, yo, I'm never sick. And I basically never get sick anymore since I started taking vitamin D. And so I was like, all right, well, you're an older lady. You live in my community. I'm just going to go from what you say because I've watched the debates and I've been very torn over the vitamin D thing. So now taking vitamin D and I'm taking higher doses and it has been making me laugh a lot. I've just been more giggly and playful in general, honestly. And I think it's because my mood has been so good. And I think my mood has been so good from my probiotics and my vitamin D. So that's really vague because that's just talking about being in a laughy mood, but it's true. I've been in a laughy mood, guys. And as far as what I've watched to laugh, I won't say that I'm fully belly laughing, but we did watch through the show Superstore. Now, if you're like me and you're a full-blown right-wing conservative Christian, I'm just going to throw this out there generally. It's totally a woke show. The amount of woke things that are in it around masking because they were filming during COVID and 6 feet apart and lots of LGBTQ narratives going on in the show. There's divorce, all kinds of stuff happening in the show that is just more of what I would consider a woke plot, but it's not a bad show. And I've had a few good laughs watching Superstore. So that was one. I'm back to rewatching through The Office again because The Office always makes me laugh. And honestly, most days by the end of the day, I am so tired from mom life by the end of the night that it's I miss the days of watching movies. I love movies and I miss those days, but we're pretty much never watching movies anymore, hardly ever, because it's just gets to the point where by the time I'm finally in bed, I'm okay, I got 20 minutes of energy left in me before I'm out. Let's watch one light, shallow, laughy show. And so that's what we've been doing. The other night we turned on St. Dennis Medical. That was pretty funny. I mean, ish, kind of. That's pretty much it, guys. Okay, someone said first time mom in the newborn trenches. Congratulations. Best advice for those hard newborn moments. It depends what you mean by hard newborn moments. If you're talking moments where baby is maybe screaming and crying or something, and you're I'm shaking and I'm about to have a meltdown, you always need to keep this in mind, okay? If you're really feeling upset, you can always put your baby down and leave the room and go catch your breath. Baby can cry for a minute while you calm down. See, I'm projecting. I don't really know what you mean by hard moments. Really hard moments, that is what's important to keep in mind. You don't want to get frustrated with your baby or yell, or I'm sure you're not going to give your baby shaken baby syndrome, but you know what I mean. You want to gather yourself. That's one thing. But in regard to overall newborn moments being tough, I think one of the top pieces of advice that I would give you is don't forget to take care of yourself. And I know that's really hard. Some of your self-care, quote unquote, is just going to go by the wayside when you have a baby, particularly a newborn, because it's hard. It takes a lot of effort to care for a baby. There are only so many hours in the day. It's how am I supposed to get a good amount of sleep, be woken up in the middle of the night, eat good food, shower, work? How am I supposed to do all this? You probably can't, but you need to keep self-care at the forefront of your mind, because while ultimately Sure, you don't necessarily need self-care to survive. I think it will bite you in the butt if you're not finding ways to get sleep, if you're not staying hydrated with like proper balanced hydration, whether it's like spring water, electrolytes, electrolyte drinks that you make, good quality raw milk, balanced meals that are protein forward and good fresh produce in your diet. All of those things are really important also for your health in the long run, because I truly think you can get by for a period of time just off of like cortisol and adrenaline and like just being like jazzed and pumped and focused and the mom hormones are like pumping. But I think in the long run that can impact you and your health, both your physical health and your mental health, in a very bad way. So I would say hang in there, mama. Just keep swimming, soak up the good moments, and try within your family dynamic, between you and your husband, if you can coordinate this, to have a way to make sure to keep your self-care near the front. The fact that you've just been through so much, being pregnant, giving birth to your baby. I don't know if you're breastfeeding, even if you're not, you've been through so much. But especially also if you are, now you have to keep making milk. So it's important that your husband is on the same page, that it's like, yo, I got to get fed. I got to get hydrated, which I'm getting thirsty as we're saying this. When you're having a really tough moment with the kids, with your baby in particular, take it to the Lord, immediately right there. Pray to the Lord right there. Sometimes it's literally just, Jesus, help me now, please. And it's like, I was going to say I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding, right? I'm absolutely not kidding. But sometimes it's kind of like this funny sigh of Lord, help me. But I mean it, Lord, help me. So, yeah. Okay. Someone said along those lines, your daily pumping schedule and why. What's the reason behind the one long pump a day? Okay. So I am in the process of trying to wean Lizzie. I don't even really know what that means. Maybe it's just in my imagination. I'm like, we're weaning. We're not really doing anything. But I'm trying to hopefully get her to cut back. And so I have actually lately not been doing my one long pump a day, not only because I'm weaning her, that hopefully God willing, but also because she was sick for a couple of weeks. And in general, this has happened before with Lizzie. When she's sick, she doesn't drink as much milk. So I went from having 0 milk in the freezer to now having 20 bags in the freezer. So if her appetite picks back up, I can't get her to back off. I have room to increase my pumping again. But the point for the one long pump a day is because what I believe through my research based on my body, and I think maybe other women's bodies who don't naturally lean towards having an oversupply, I have realized that for your supply to stay full, it depends on 2 things. The amount of times you pump throughout the day. I believe it has to be 6 to 8 times, really 7 is the sweet spot in a 24-hour period. But that also, it's the amount of cumulative minutes. So you want to not only be hooking up to the pump those 6 to 8 times, but they can't all just be 10-minute pumps. One of them has to be longer because it's essentially like placing an order at a restaurant. You're placing the order in your boobs that hey, we need more milk here. So you place that order and your body knows for the upcoming days, it's not immediate. It usually takes 1 to 3, 4 days for your body to be oh, she needs more milk. So for me, I have found that the best way to maintain a full supply is 7 pumps in a 24-hour period, and one of those pumps being a longer 30 to 40-minute pump. All of my other pumping sessions are about 10 minutes long. So yeah, but here's to hoping that I'm almost done. Come on, Lizzie. You're almost 2, kind of. She'll be 2 in April. How crazy is that? Okay, someone asked, do you have any crunchy hair products that you like? So I'm assuming you mean natural, not crunchy. Everybody remember the crunchy curl days? Yes, I do actually. Okay, so I use a crunchier shampoo and conditioner. I'll insert it right here. I can't say that I love it. It's good. It's fine. It cleans my hair really well. It makes my hair feel moisturized. I use a non-crunchy product from Redken because I got my hair lightened earlier in the year and it kind of fried my hair. And so I used this product to bring the hair, calm the hair down, bring it back to life. And then I have been using 2 hair oils from a friend of mine for the last 6 months. I had been needing new hair oils very badly. If you guys have been following my channel for a long time, you guys know I think it was the Chi oil for a very long time. And I liked it, but I started to get to the point where I was dude, I hate that it leaves a film on my hands. And I don't even know what kind of toxic film this is on my hands. And then it smelled like straight up men's cologne, like hardcore men's cologne. So these oils, her company, I believe, is called Olive and Bloom. They are completely natural. Like I've used a little bit on Lizzie's hair actually a few times, and it doesn't leave a nasty film on your hands. And because it's all natural, you don't have to be worried about the like oil that is left on your hands. The oils are beautiful. It's a 2-part oil system. You technically can use all of the oils all over your head, but one of them is specifically for the ends of your hair, and one is more specifically for the roots to like stimulate hair growth. And I have been loving these oils. If I was gonna say if I can remember, but I will remember. I'll link them down in the info box. She is a small business, but she is a former hairstylist who like studied hair and figured out like exactly what needs to be in a hair care product and couldn't find a natural one on the market. So she spent a couple years developing this product or these products to make it so that it had everything that your hair needs, but in a natural form. And it's really cool because she had actually like ruined all of her hair, completely bleached it. It was super short, and then developed these products and used them on her hair. And holy Toledo, guys, she has like the most beautiful hair I've ever seen. So she's like a walking testimony herself. So yeah. Okay. Someone said, has becoming a parent of 2 stirred up things from your childhood that you needed to process or heal from? Okay. So that's really specific. I can't say that becoming a parent of 2, although actually, as I'm saying that and thinking about it, I kind of get what you mean. Like just having like a sibling dynamic. And I guess my answer is changing real time as I'm answering this. Sure. Yeah. I guess it kind of has brought me back to memories. You know, one of those things being, and I don't know, I tread lightly because I don't want to reveal too much of like their information, but one of which, so I am the oldest in my family, if you didn't know that. And I remember being simultaneously very excited when my sisters showed up to our family. And I also remember feeling a little bit bummed, like I just didn't get my parents' attention as much anymore because it was just us for 5.5 years. And it's interesting watching in my children now, right? Seeing like Logan feel certain struggles that like I recognize that I felt. It's good ultimately, I truly do believe, for like so many reasons, right? Selfishness, understanding that things aren't all about, you know, just us. Also the buddy dynamic of siblings, obviously. But that has been interesting to watch and like processing from my childhood and remembering that and being like, oh yeah, like very interesting, just seeing things differently now as the parent, as an adult. You know, she's so little. I don't know, like back to what my initial answer was going to be, like, I don't know that these have been things that I've had to process because there's 2 of them yet at this point, but just parenting in general, right? I truly think that parenting, having children just does bring you back to your childhood and has you in a place of processing your own childhood. And, you know, one of those things, someone asked me a question in here about discipline, and that has been honestly the hardest thing about being a parent. I think I've mentioned this before. The hardest thing about parenting is discipline, figuring out, for me, right, specifically, figuring out how you raise children who are respectful, kind, they know how to obey and follow rules, but also wanting them to be critical thinkers that are allowed to ask questions, that understand, like, no, you don't just blindly obey authority. And you know, wanting them to be functioning adults in the world and like wanting to say yes to everything. But like so much of the day is you being like, no, you can't do that. That's not good for you. Like, no, put that down. No, you can't eat that. No, you can't watch that. No, like it's like the not fun part of parenting is the discipline and trying to help them fight against behaviors, habits, sin nature, things that are not good for them and will not be good for them amongst, you know, society. Trying to help them navigate that is just hard. I mean, that's it. That's the hardest part of parenting to me. Really quick, I want to give a shout out to the Tuttle twins. I talk about them later in this video, but they're kind of like one of the first sponsors of this video. I'm going to insert this little ad right here. So my homeschool mom friends have been talking about these books for forever, and I finally just got around to reading the Tuttle twins book series, and I'm so glad that I did. They are legitimately incredible. If you've never checked them out, they will help teach your kids and you you all about real history, real economics, what systems like Marxism and socialism is, and how we can work to stay truly free. If you've had a hard time figuring out how to really discuss these topics with your kids, or how to even break them down in a way that makes sense for even conversations with other adults, these books are where it's at. Believe me. Check out the Tuttle Twins Black Friday sale. You will not regret it. So yeah, check them out. I have my link in the info box down below. They're absolutely fabulous. Check them out. Ooh, what's something that you don't enjoy doing that you wish you did? Practicing piano. I kind of could see myself living in the day and age of Elon Musk inserting a chip into my brain, you know, like the Matrix. And it's just like, please, I just want to already know how to play, and then just like do it. Because I really, really would like to be an older woman that like knows how to play the piano. This is a goal that I would like to see continue, or a skill that I would like to see continue to like develop and unfold in my life as I get older. But I don't like practicing piano, like legit. Honestly, I don't like doing anything that's hard at first. Does anyone? Maybe. I think that's probably just human nature, but I just wish I did. I wish that I liked the struggle, and I try to work on that by just continuing to keep going, but it is hard. I just want to like the struggle so that I can already be like an amazing piano player. Oh, back to the Charlie Candace thing. Someone had made a comment. It's sad because I love so many people on both sides of the argument, and even more sad that we are losing what, oh, I already read that part, what Charlie fought for, civil discussion. Yeah, that kind of also goes back to what I was saying before about just loving on people. People can be on different sides. It doesn't have to be so contentious. Even if Candace is making it contentious, even if she is, you know, getting real attitude-y or whatever, it's like, you don't have to be that way. You don't have to get on Instagram and be yelling at people like on either side. I see people yelling at people all the time in Instagram comments, and I really am just like, dang, you're really confident for not knowing any of these people. Like, wow. I don't think you've gone through enough like embarrassing moments of thinking one thing and then finding out that like something was completely fake, or that you were bamboozled, or that like, I don't know, maybe you haven't known people who have like worked on camera for a living, but people are really confident about their opinions about other people when they don't know them. That's all. Ooh, what are your plans for Christmas? What do you eat? What do you do? Okay, so we don't ever have like set Christmas plans. They kind of change every year. This is something, we'll see if it happens, but I'm hoping to, you know, build some traditions into our family as my children get older. We're kind of starting right now. Like, I never did Advent growing up, or at least I don't have any memory of doing Advent. And we have been doing that with Logan to an extent. We've missed like a couple days and then we caught up. But we're doing a specific Advent reading plan besides just like reading through Luke. It's like a separate Advent plan. Where is it? Is it next to me? I was going to say it might be on the floor somewhere, but I don't see it. I'll try to insert a thing right here. And this one is okay. I can't say that I like super recommend this, just for the record, but I don't, you know, not recommend it. Dan and Logan are both obsessed with animals. So this has just been like a fun thing to kind of like add to it. We also read, and literally I've lost the book and I can't find it anywhere, but we've been reading through Tabitha Page's Christmas book and just other Christmas books in general daily. And as far as meals, like growing up, my family did kind of have a standard meal. It would be like meat, always party potatoes, which are like my mom's specialty potatoes, which if I make them this year, I don't think I'm going to anymore though, because I have other plans, although I might. I'll get to this. Always her party potatoes. And she would do some kind of like thumbprint cookie, but it wasn't like we had a super specific, like this is always what it was. It was just always good food. Green beans, maybe roasted carrots. Like I said, a big meat, delicious. This year, assuming I don't go down for the count or get too busy and overwhelmed, which I don't think I am. I was just looking at the calendar this morning. I'm like mapping out the next couple of weeks. I think I am going to be handling the bulk of Christmas dinner with my family, and I'm going to be making multiple items out of Wishbone Kitchen's cookbook. I don't remember her real name, but she's like a private chef in the Hamptons, is online making content. But she has balsamic braised short ribs that I really want to try. I want to make a dessert from her book because she has an olive oil cake in that cookbook that we made over the summer with like fresh blueberries and strawberries. It was the best cake I've ever had in my life. But she has like a sticky toffee pudding cake. I think I want to make that for Christmas, and a few other things. She's got like a radicchio salad that looks really good. We might do some of her broccoli. Her cookbook is interesting because she's got all of her recipes, but then at the back, she makes them into like a menu. And so I'm going to be taking like probably half of the items from her winter holiday menu that she put together, and that's what I'm going to make for Christmas. My mom is going to make a few things too, because if I make potatoes, I'm actually not sure if I'm going to make her potatoes in her cookbook or stick to my mom's like party potatoes. But my parents are doing kind of like a little more keto-ish, so they're like picking and choosing which things from the main meal that they want to eat. I think she's going to do like a cauliflower mash. But yeah, I'm also super excited. Logan is getting one main gift he has like a few other little things from family members, but he's getting one main gift from my parents and us that we are doing together. And it's this video game console that like it has like a camera on it. I know some people are going to be super creeped out by this. Whatever. It is what it is. It's a video game console that has a camera that films you and puts you in the games. So the whole point of it is that it's like, remember like when the Wii came out, it was like, wow, you get to do exercise and be playing a video game. That's like what this is, but like even more. As far as I can tell from the reviews, people love it and it gets their kids super active. And as far as I know right now, we're about to go into like a crazy snowy winter. So I am excited to have something that both of the kids can do like actively from our living room. You know? Oh, someone said, how cold are the winters in Idaho and how does this affect winter home prep and even gardening? So I do 0 of the winter home prep, and I have many smart gardening friends who did some stuff to prep their gardens for spring. We did none of it. Dan and I were just talking about that. I was like, dude, we really got to figure out our gardening game because my friends prepped their garden and I don't even know what that means and we didn't do it. So no, Dan has prepped the house. He had to do some things. I don't know. He like lined some wire up in our roof to make it so that like, I guess water won't drip into icicles. I don't know because I'm not doing any of it, but I do know that the internet, like all of the meteorologists from like all around the world are saying that this is about to be the craziest winter that we've had in the US since like 2010. So this town apparently has had so much snow before that our neighbors stood on the top of their roofs and like waved to each other like, hey, because they were completely buried in. I'm like, whoa, we don't have a 2-story house. That would make us completely buried in if that happens. That would be really fun. I'm not going to lie. But like the extended winter is what I'm nervous about, not like snow. You know what I mean? Like I would like some snow for a while. Winter, yay. But I'm a little nervous for March. We'll see. Although, guys, don't quote me on it. Should I even tell you this? I might be going back to LA for like 2 or 3 days in March, which will be really awesome to escape the snow for a minute if that happens. I haven't been back to LA in 8 years. We'll see. I would be going to be on a podcast and visit some friends. It may not happen. I probably will delete this, but we'll see. How to make mom friends. Okay, my short answer is just keep putting yourself out there. Like if you just keep putting yourself out there, mom groups, people at church, just wherever, just talk to people, be comfortable with being seen as being stupid. I don't know if that's the way we want to put it. Like, oh, they're going to think I'm so dumb. It's like, be comfortable with that because someone won't. And eventually you will click with people. You will find your way into groups. You just have to keep talking to people and you have to show up to things. That's what I think it really requires is putting yourself out there, talking to people, asking other people questions so that you're not just like blabbering their ears off, being interested, but also sharing some, and showing up to things because you also have to actually put the time in and the time has to go by to like make friendships more solid. So yeah, just talking to people. That's my advice. Okay. Someone asked if I'm settled into a good church and what denomination it is. And they said, but don't reveal too much for privacy. Thank you for looking out. Okay. So we are unfortunately not settled into a church. It's truly unbelievable. This is the longest period of time that we have been without what we would consider a home church. Honestly, I kept saying in our adult life, but really my entire life, I've never gone this long without having like a home church. There's no big dramas. Even if there was, I wouldn't share them on the internet anyways, but we just haven't felt like we're settled in a church. So we are visiting a new church now, somewhere we actually went a couple of years ago as well, and it just wasn't the right fit, but it's kind of been on our mind the whole time. So my mom was like, why don't you go back there and check it out? There are so many great churches up here in Idaho, just a lot of churches, way more churches than there were back in Los Angeles. Kind of similar to Nashville. Nashville had way more churches than Los Angeles as well. But there's just a lot of really great ones up here, and we have not settled in. We will see what happens. I've tried to really shift my attitude in the last few months about it to like from being like, oh man, we don't have a home church, to being like, hey, you're celebrating with other believers, like a new group of believers. Yay. And part of what's hard too is I have so many friends that are not like, they're not from a church setting. We're just like a group of friends. And so I don't feel like I'm just floating around by myself and I have no friend groups or no spiritual support. Like I don't feel that at all. So it kind of takes the pressure off in a good way and a bad way to feel like we have to decide on a church. So nope, don't have any news to report there. Okay, someone asked for my favorite new habits of 2025. And I will say probably my favorite new habit has been my morning routine that I have had implemented in my life now for probably the last 8 months. And it's a couple of very specific things. One of which is when I get up in the morning and I go to the bathroom, I coconut oil pull. I do coconut oil pulling for 10 minutes. And while I'm doing that, I go straight into the Word. I go straight into the Bible before I check anything else. And that has been a really great habit. Honestly, maybe it's even been closer to like 10 months. It's been most of the year that every single morning, right at the top of the morning, I am in the Bible, in the Word. And that has been a really great feeling habit. It's actually a whole series of events. So I do my coconut oil pulling while I'm in the Word, which is amazing because I've done a few interesting things this year, like going through Proverbs multiple times, multiple months in a row. Now, don't hold me to it, but also, whatever, you can hold me to it. I'm in the process of, I think I want to try to memorize the first book of James. So I'm going through James again. James is actually what I have tattooed on my wrist, James 1:27. I did a James Bible study in high school and it really impacted me. And so now I'm going back through it again because I want those words to be buried in my soul. And I just think it sounds fun. I'm in the phase with Logan right now where we're like working on some memorization. So he just is in the process of finishing memorizing the Lord's Prayer. And I actually think he could memorize James too. We'll see if I end up, I've kind of started reading it to him as well. We'll see if it's something that he ends up absorbing. But yeah, I went through Proverbs, I'm going through James. I'm just doing like daily little Bible verse readings out of what's it called? The YouVersion app. So that's been a really great habit. And then after I coconut oil pull, I do tongue scraping and then I brush my teeth and then I drink water. So I don't drink any water in the morning until I have coconut oil pulled, scraped my tongue, brushed my teeth. And now I'm also taking a probiotic right away too on an empty stomach. And then I drink water and then move towards my breakfast. I'm currently not in a phase where I'm rushing to eat breakfast. That's been a really big thing in the health community. Like quick, you should be eating right away. And in the last couple of months, I haven't really been resonating with that as much. Like I still will eat, but like I've kind of just been letting my body chill for a minute before I eat. And that's been feeling pretty good to tell you the truth. So, yeah. Also, there's like a bunch of turkeys walking past my house right now, and it's hysterical. I love when it's turkey season here. They're just everywhere. The quick answer, because I've answered this before, someone asked, when did you start homeschooling and what curriculum do you follow, if one? So we don't follow a curriculum as of right now. My answer for all homeschooling questions in general is we are going to be taking it 1 year at a time. I would even say 6 months at a time, because I'm a big believer in just like paying attention to your kids' needs and seeing what they're interested in, what their weaknesses are at that moment, what their strengths are at that moment, and kind of adjusting accordingly. Like I feel that about their whole education, that we're just going to take it as it comes. Simultaneously, I think homeschooling starts like at the beginning, if you want it to, like day one, because kids are always learning. So going out of your way to like teach them a little more, encourage them a little more, push them a little bit in different ways. I think all parents know how to do that. And so I'm just a big believer in that. And I will say, we have become huge fans of just rotating out books at the library, looking for books that are on sale for very cheap. I feel like there are so many books in the world and kids can learn so much from like all kinds of books. We were reading through a nature book last night and I realized like, okay, in this nature book right now, he is learning reading because we were going over reading through it. So he's reading, right? he's learning about nature because that's what the topic of the book is. But then there were also numbers in the book. So he was also reestablishing through that book what certain numbers are. Like he doesn't know, like at one point there was a number like 6,423. And so then it was a whole conversation of like, do you remember like those first three numbers are the hundreds? And then once you have that comma, you're in the thousand range. And, so it turned into like this threefold lesson. And obviously like children, as they get older, they need different things. And so then that's why I go back to like, we just take it 6 months at a time. But as of right now, we do not have curriculum. It'll just be interesting. I don't know. I want to say like, I'll be surprised if we have any curriculum because I very much have the heart of an unschooler in the sense that like, I really believe in following people's interests and then like, giving them like a robust amount of materials and resources to surround that interest. And then I believe that they will learn a lot of skills through the lens of that interest, but you have to actually go for it. I've heard some people like say that they think that that's like lazy parenting. And I think it can be if you're not actually focused on, like I said, giving them resources to support those interests and making sure that they're actually moving forward. Another thing I've said before is I consider being a homeschool mom, not that I'm necessarily the teacher of everything, but that I'm like the ultimate guidance counselor. And it is my job to pay attention to where my children are at in their learning, in their development, their weaknesses, their strengths, all of that. So I just say it for the third time now. We're just going to take it 6 months at a time and see what my babies need and hopefully just guide them accordingly. We are in like 3 different homeschool groups right now, but all of them are very play-based. Like one of them, there might be a theme and we make some things, but they're very play-based. I very much think like Charlotte Mason, there's this quote that like the work of a child is play. And that kind of aligns too with that whole perspective of like interest-led learning. I do really believe that children are supposed to play when they're young. And I believe that that opens up their eyes to things that they're passionate about, which I think a lot of people go into adulthood not necessarily knowing what they're passionate about because they weren't necessarily given the freedom to find out, to pursue those passions. But also when they play, I think it also brings them to the point of like having questions, and questions obviously lead to learning. So we got to land the plane here. I feel like I've been talking for hours and I feel like I could just keep going. Okay, here we go. Here's a good one. How do you get young kids to eat what you are eating? Guys, I don't. That's the secret. So I have this is once again me projecting from my childhood. My parents didn't like force me to eat things, but I do remember like being very upset if someone did try to force me to eat something. And so I really I monitor, I don't feed the children junk food by any means. That's actually probably more what I'm picky about because I want to keep them healthy and not getting sick. But in terms of I don't make them eat what we're eating. A lot of times will try to make them take, particularly Logan. Let me back up. Lizzie always wants what I'm eating. Sorry, I should have said that. I don't know if it's her age or her personality or, her tastes or both, all of the above, but she always wants to eat and drink whatever we're eating and drinking. Logan, not so much. Most of the time, I have to make him a separate meal, which as I'm saying that, I realize that sounds potentially really spoiled or bad, but I don't mind because of what I said, and they're nothing that crazy. So I keep him on a lot of basics, and I keep a lot of those basics on standby. So if I'm making, me and Dan barbacoa burritos, Lizzie's going to want some of that barbacoa burrito. Logan absolutely will not want it. And so what I'll make him, I might throw him a chicken sausage in the air fryer and then slice up an apple and maybe pop in a piece of sourdough toast and then a glass of milk. And if he really wants something else, like a string cheese, or I keep pre-cooked steak in the freezer from Costco. Maybe I'll cook him up some steak, and then it's kind of the same mix, honestly. And then maybe give him half a bagel. Sometimes he likes to have little bits of salad. If we have salad, he actually likes my salad dressing. A lot of people like my salad dressing. But that's really what he tends to eat, is very simple foods. And that's also why I'm able to often make him a separate meal, is because it's not anything crazy. We might have some chicken tenders in the freezer that I might heat up for him, and then, give him some grapes and a couple of the salt and vinegar chips that I buy from Siete. And, or last night they're not the cleanest in the world, but they're really not that bad. I buy these cleaner burger buns from the store that I keep in the freezer. And I am the queen of making fast burgers now. So last night I balled up some meat, threw it on the pan, did a smash burger, threw some cheese on top, and he had a burger for dinner with a glass of milk. And I think an apple on the side or something like that. He likes my grilled cheese sandwiches with my sourdough bread, so that's honestly the truth. And like I said, I like to generally make him have a bite of what we're having because the goal in my mind is to expand his palate. So it's like, hey, you got to try it so that your palate can expand. Hopefully your taste buds expand, but I'm not going to make you eat something that you hate because for me personally in my life, my lifestyle, it's not that big of a deal for me to make him a separate meal. Sometimes I'm making myself a separate meal. Sometimes we're making like 3 meals because Dan wants one thing and I'm like, I can't do that right now. And then I know Logan wants something else. And that's just our lifestyle. I kind of feel the same way about this is a good example, like sleep training. I know some people literally think sleep training is abuse. I don't think that. I think people can approach sleep training in different ways that might be like not something that I would ever do or I would consider it harmful. But like Logan comes into our room in the middle of the night. He goes to sleep in his own bed, but he comes into our room usually anytime between like 11 and 3 a.m. kind of depends. And we let that happen because we don't mind, not just me, Dan, we don't mind. We actually like it. And so I think that, there's a lot of things that are like preferences in different families, obviously, but I try not to just give Logan junk food. That's really the point. Even though he eats separate and he eats pretty simple, I try to make sure that his meals are like well balanced and full of, protein and hopefully good nutrition. And I make all of our bread and bagels at home minus the burger buns, but I will make those one day. I just they take a little more effort and timing and I haven't really nailed it enough to have it be part of our regular rotation yet. So yeah. Okay. So I don't know if this is like to end this video, whatever. Someone said, do you think a Trump presidency has made America better? Ooh, my answer initially is no, but we already know how I feel about just, political figures in general. I think mostly like what will make America better is how people are doing like in their communities, in their day-to-day life. I am not really a believer that the government can make a whole lot too much better. I still vote. I've mentioned this before. I still look at candidates and I'll be like, I think this one's better than that one for whatever reason. I've mentioned this before. Like when I endorsed Trump, it was simply because I felt like I had a couple of choices. I had to make a choice. Kamala definitely leaned more on the government heavy communistic socialist side of things in a way that I didn't really like. But I think that got misinterpreted as like, I was just like Trump. And I definitely wasn't. I've said this before, but when Trump first ran for president, whatever that was, a decade ago, I listened to one of his books. I think it was The Art of the Deal, because I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this guy's running. I have to hear like from his mouth, even though who knows if he wrote it, but I have to hear what this guy's like. And I read it and I was kind of horrified. Not totally, because he had a lot of smart, interesting things to say in the book, but kind of horrified in the sense that like, the way he talked about women, like when all the stuff came out about him, I wasn't team like, I don't know. I didn't necessarily think that the things that the media was freaking out about him saying, I was like, whatever. People say all kinds of stuff behind closed doors or like to their pals or whatever. I've heard crazy stuff said in private, like once again, from people that are like on screen people, things that they would say in private that they would never say in public that are like rude or I completely disagree with or is even disgusting. So it's kind of like whatever. But also I was kind of like, well, I'm not really surprised. Have any of you listened to his books? Like literally, I don't remember specifics, but I remember in the book being like, oh, that's a really mean way to talk about your fellow person or like a woman. Like it was just pretty rough. What's interesting though, I don't know about you guys, I have been to 4 Trump hotels, maybe 3, Chicago, New York, Vegas. Okay, so 3. And they were all beautiful hotels. The employees, like the staff, was extremely diverse. So that's on a side note, the people that were like screaming at him over white supremacy. I'm like, his staff was extremely diverse. At 2 of the hotels, the employees actually went out of their way to talk about how much they loved working at the Trump hotel. It was actually crazy. I mean, were they being threatened? They had to like go out of their way and say that? I don't know. But point being, I just don't, I'm also, here's another thing. No, here's the point. I'm also not smart enough to know if the moves that Trump has made has really affected America for the better. Also, it hasn't even been a year yet. There's kind of that as well. It's like he's got 3 more years to go. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm also just not smart enough to be able to tell you that. I am just focusing on my community, my family. I am My political views are pretty much what the Tuttle twins sums up. Like, for better, for worse, it's kind of embarrassing. I'm pretty much a libertarian at this point. That might change because I don't know why I feel kind of like embarrassed. Like, it's not really a working way to operate a government as a libertarian. Like, I don't know how that works, but I do find myself agreeing with a lot of libertarian stances. Like I said, Tuttle twin stuff. Hey, actually, we'll end on a non-political question. Someone asked how Zoe is doing, and Zoe is doing well. She is getting old, man. She's like 14 years old at this point. I don't know how much longer Zoe has left in her. I was just talking about this to Dan the other day. I was like, man, she's obviously a different role in my life now because I have 2 children that require all of my attention. So she's a different place in my life now than when I didn't have babies. Obviously, I walked around with Zoe on my hip like a baby for like years. But it will be very sad when she passes because she's been a good girl and she's moved with us like 10 times and she's sweet. She's actually asleep in my room, I think on my blanket right now. But yeah, she's doing well. She definitely is deaf now. She cannot hear. So like if we're giving her food, you can't be like, Zoe, you have to like hit the ground with your foot because then she feels the vibrations and then comes running over. And her vision is definitely starting to go. I mean, she's older. Thinking about it though, she actually might be, no, she's 14. She's 14. I was gonna say she might be 15, but that's not true. My YouTube channel is 15, guys. My YouTube channel just turned 15. How crazy is that? I've been talking to you guys for a really long time. So yeah, that is it. I hope that this video, like I said, was interesting, encouraging, exciting, life-giving, something. And I hope that you guys are having a great time getting ready for Christmas. I hope you have some wonderful plans ahead of you. And if you're going through a hard point in life right now, I just want to like reach through the screen and give you an e-hug, which I know isn't possible. Well, I guess an e-hug would be on the other side of the screen. And I just want to tell you to just keep swimming. Turn your eyes towards the Lord. Pray for his peace and his guidance. And just, yeah, his peace that surpasses all understanding. I pray that you feel his love in this season, this holiday, Christmas, winter time. That's pretty much it. So I will, God willing, see you guys back here soon with another new video. Yeah. Bye, guys.